Hello everyone, it's me again, Joseph, your host, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into the past to uncover the story of a real-life king who became a saint. His name is Saint Dagobert II, and his life was like something out of an epic movie, full of adventure, betrayal, and faith. So grab your popcorn and let's travel back in time to the 7th century. Our story begins in a land called Austrasia, which is now part of modern-day France and Germany. Dagobert was a prince, born around the year 652. He was part of the famous Merovingian dynasty, known as the long-haired kings. Back then, long hair was a symbol of royal power. If you cut a king's hair, it was like taking away his crown. When Dagobert was just a little boy, his father, King Sigebert III, passed away. This was a dangerous time for a young prince. A very powerful and ambitious man named Grimoald, the elder, who was the mayor of the palace, saw his chance. He didn't want Dagobert to become king, so he did something drastic. He had young Dagobert kidnapped. Grimoald ordered that Dagobert's long royal hair be cut short, a process called tonsure, making him look like a monk. This was a clever and cruel trick. By cutting his hair, Grimoald was telling the world that Dagobert was no longer fit to be king. Then, he exiled the young boy, sending him far, far away to a monastery in Ireland. Can you imagine being a young prince, suddenly taken from your home and sent to a strange land all by yourself? Dagobert probably felt scared and alone, but his story was far from over. For nearly 20 years, Dagobert lived in Ireland, most likely at a place called Slane Abbey. He grew up not as a prince in a palace, but as a monk in a monastery. He would have spent his days praying, studying, and working. Life was simple and quiet, a world away from the royal court he was born into. He probably thought he would never see his homeland again. But back in Austrasia, things were chaotic. After Grimoald tried to put his own son on the throne, he was captured and executed. Different kings and powerful nobles fought for control, leading to years of civil war. Dagobert's cousin, King Childeric II, took the throne but was also assassinated. The kingdom was in turmoil. During this time, some of Dagobert's friends and family back home hadn't forgotten him. They discovered that the long-lost prince was still alive in Ireland. They needed a rightful king to bring order back to the kingdom. So, they reached out for help from a very influential English bishop named Saint Wilfrid of York. Wilfrid was a well-respected figure, and he agreed to help. He arranged for Dagobert to travel from Ireland to England, and then finally back to Austrasia. After almost 2 decades in exile, Dagobert returned home in the year 676. He was no longer a little boy, but a grown man, ready to claim his birthright. The people of Austrasia welcomed him, and he was finally crowned King Dagobert II. It was a triumphant moment, like a scene from a fairy tale. The exiled prince had returned to become king. King Dagobert II had a huge job ahead of him. His kingdom was torn apart by years of fighting. He immediately got to work trying to restore peace and order. One of the first things he did was deal with the ongoing rivalry with the neighboring kingdom of Neustria, which was controlled by another powerful mayor of the palace named Ebroin. Historical records tell us about fighting between King Dagobert and his cousin, King Euderic III of Neustria. This shows that Dagobert was a strong ruler who wasn't afraid to defend his kingdom. His armies were active and pushed back against their rivals. He was determined to make Austrasia strong and independent once more. Besides warfare, Dagobert also focused on diplomacy and economics. In 676, he signed a very strong peace agreement with the Lombards, who ruled a kingdom in what is now Italy. This was a smart move, securing his kingdom's southern border and creating stable relationships with his neighbors. I also did something very important for his kingdom's economy. He started making gold coins again. For years, gold coinage had stopped, but Dagobert brought it back. These coins, called tremesis, were special, had a new design, often with a cross on top of a globe, inspired by the powerful Byzantine Empire. Having his own coins made was a clear sign that Dagobert was a powerful and legitimate king. In fact, he was the last king to have his name stamped on coins made in the city of Marseille. But Dagobert wasn't popular with everyone. Some old writings describe him as a strict ruler. It's said that he argued with church leaders and introduced new taxes to fund his projects and his army. While these actions might have been necessary to strengthen his kingdom, they made some powerful people unhappy. The nobles and even some bishops began to see him as a threat to their own power and wealth. Dagobert never forgot the man who helped him regain his throne, Bishop Wilfrid. In 679, Wilfrid was traveling to Rome and stopped to visit King Dagobert's court. The king was overjoyed to see him. As a thank you, Dagobert offered Wilfrid a very important position as the Bishop of Strasbourg, one of the biggest cities in his kingdom. But Wilfrid politely declined, as he had his own mission to complete. So instead, Dagobert gave him gifts, weapons for protection, and companions to ensure he had a safe journey to Rome. This friendly visit, however, would be one of the last happy moments in Dagobert's short reign. The powerful nobles and bishops who disliked his rule were plotting against him. They saw him as an obstacle, someone who was too strong and too independent. Their discontent grew into a dangerous conspiracy. Just a short time after Bishop Wilfrid left, the plot was put into motion. On December 23, 679, King Dagobert went on a hunting trip in the forest of Wouver, near a town called Stenai. Hunting was a common pastime for kings, a chance to enjoy the outdoors and prove their skill. But on this day, danger lurked in the shadows. As the king rested, perhaps under a tree, he was ambushed and tragically murdered. The details are grim. One tradition says he was killed by his own godson, a young man named John, who was part of the conspiracy. This betrayal by someone he trusted makes his death even more heartbreaking. It was a treacherous and violent end for a king who had overcome so much. His reign had lasted only 3 years. The man behind the plot was likely his old enemy, Eberroin, the mayor of the Palace of Neustria. With Dagobert gone, Eberroin quickly moved in and brought Austrasia under the control of his own king. Doderic III, the dream of an independent Austrasia, died with Dagobert. When Bishop Wilfrid returned from Rome in 680, he was arrested by Eberroin's men. They accused him of being responsible for bringing Dagobert back from exile. It shows just how much Eberroin and his allies had wanted Dagobert out of the way. So how did this murdered king become a saint? Well, it's because of the way he died. The local people in the Ardennes region, where he was killed, were shocked and horrified by the assassination. They saw him not just as a king who was betrayed, but as someone who died unjustly while trying to do what was right for his kingdom. They began to see him as a martyr, someone who suffers or dies for their beliefs. Soon, stories and devotion began to spread. People started to honor him, and his burial place became a site of pilgrimage. There's some debate about where he was first buried. Some sources say Rouen next to another murdered king, but the tradition that became most famous states he was buried in Stenai, the town near where he died. Nearly 200 years later, in the year 872, another powerful king named Charles the Bald officially recognized Dagobert as a saint and a martyr. Charles had Dagobert's remains, or relics, moved to a beautiful new church, a basilica, built in his honor in Stenai. This act of canonization made his status as a saint official. His feast day was set for December 23rd, the very day he was assassinated. Is a special detail because it directly links his sainthood to his martyrdom. He is remembered on the anniversary of his ultimate sacrifice. For centuries, Saint Dagobert was honored, especially in the region around Stenai. He was remembered as one of the last strong kings of the Merovingian dynasty, a ruler who fought to restore order and justice. In modern times, Saint Dagobert's name has popped up in some unexpected places. You might have heard of popular books and theories that try to connect him to a secret bloodline. While these stories are exciting, historians agree that they are works of fiction, not fact. The real story of Saint Dagobert II is incredible enough on its own. His life teaches us about resilience, courage, and faith in the face of incredible hardship. He went from a prince to an exile, a monk to a king, and finally, a martyr to a saint. He faced betrayal and danger, but never gave up on his duty to his people and his kingdom. So, the next time you see the date, December 23rd on the calendar, you can remember the incredible story of Saint Dagobert II, the exiled king who became a martyr for his faith and his crown. His dramatic life is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, courage and conviction can shine brightly through history. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed learning about Saint Dagobert, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, share and ring the bell so you won't miss our next adventure into history. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and healthy as usual. See you next time, and God bless you always.